Depression is a serious mental health condition, and no one should face it alone. So, if you've been feeling lost, stuck, or like you're carrying a weight no one else can see, stick around. We're about to break down the subtle but powerful ways depression can creep into your life, and how to recognize the difference between a bad day and something more. Ready to uncover the truth? Let's get started. It's easy to mistake depression for laziness, especially in a world that glorifies productivity and hustle. But let's be clear. Laziness is often a temporary state caused by fatigue or a lack of motivation, something that can be overcome with a good night's sleep or a well-organized to-do list. Depression, on the other hand, is a completely different beast. It's not about choosing to stay in bed or procrastinate. It's about feeling like you can't get out of bed no matter how hard you try. Imagine trying to climb a mountain with a 100-pound weight strapped to your back. That's what depression feels like. While laziness might fade after a weekend of rest or a motivational pep talk, depression doesn't respond to quick fixes. You can't trick your brain into feeling better with productivity hacks or a new planner. Depression is a serious mental health condition that often requires therapy, professional help, or even medication. The American Psychological Association emphasizes that depression isn't a lack of willpower. It's a dysfunction in how the brain processes emotions and energy. So, if you've been beating yourself up for not being able to snap out of it, stop. It's not your fault, and it's not something you can just will away. Here's the thing. People often confuse the two because both can look similar on the surface. Maybe you've skipped a few chores or avoided work deadlines, and someone called you lazy. But if this laziness comes with feelings of hopelessness, guilt, or emotional withdrawal, it's time to take a closer look. Depression doesn't just sap your energy. It drains your sense of purpose and joy. And the worst part, it doesn't go away on its own. One of the most frustrating things about depression is how it defies logic. You might think, if I just go out with friends or watch my favorite movie, I'll feel better. But depression doesn't work that way. Unlike laziness, which can often be shaken off with a little motivation or rest, depression lingers. You could be surrounded by people you love or doing something you used to enjoy, and yet the sadness, loneliness, and hopelessness remain. It's like trying to light a fire with wet matches. No matter how hard you try, nothing sparks. Think about this. When someone is lazy, they might feel better after a productive day or a fun outing, but depression doesn't care about distractions. You could spend hours socializing, binge-watching your favorite show, or even taking a relaxing vacation, and still feel emotionally drained. This is why depression often feels so isolating. It convinces you that nothing will help, even when you redoing all the right things. It's not about effort, it's about the brain's inability to process joy or relief in the way it should. If this sounds familiar, know that you're not alone. Many people with depression describe this emotional numbness as one of the hardest parts to explain. It's not just sadness, it's a void that refuses to be filled. And while it might feel hopeless, there are ways to address it. Therapy, self-care routines, and even small steps like journaling can help. But let's not stop here. There's more to uncover about how depression impacts your life. When laziness strikes, it's usually temporary. You might not feel like doing chores or tackling that work project, but you'll still find joy in things you love, like watching your favorite show or hanging out with friends. Depression, however, steals that spark entirely. Activities that once brought you happiness, whether it's painting, playing sports, or even spending time with loved ones, suddenly feel meaningless. It's not just about lacking energy. It's about lacking interest. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that nothing excites you anymore. That's what depression does. It robs you of your motivation and joy. This loss of interest, also known as anhedonia, is one of the clearest signs of depression. It's not about being lazy or unmotivated. It's about feeling emotionally disconnected from the world around you. For example, someone who used to love cooking might find themselves ordering takeout every night. Not because they're lazy, but because the thought of cooking feels exhausting and pointless. This emotional withdrawal often leads to isolation, as people with depression tend to retreat into themselves, avoiding social interactions and the outside world altogether. If you've noticed this happening to you, it's important to recognize that this isn't just a phase. It's a sign that your emotional health needs attention. Depression can make you feel like you're stuck in a fog, unable to see the point of anything. But here's the good news. With the right support, whether it's therapy, professional help, or even small steps like reconnecting with a trusted friend, you can start to regain that sense of purpose. And speaking of purpose, let's explore how depression impacts your ability to function in everyday life. We all have off days, times when we're too tired to clean the house or too distracted to focus at work. But depression takes this to a whole new level. It doesn't just slow you down, it can make even the simplest tasks feel impossible. Things like getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, or answering an email can feel like climbing a mountain. This isn't laziness. It's dysfunction. Psychologists often refer to the 4 Ds when evaluating mental health: deviance, distress, danger, and dysfunction. When your inability to function starts interfering with your work, relationships, or daily life, it's a red flag that something deeper is going on. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine someone who used to excel at their job suddenly struggling to meet deadlines or even show up to work. Their coworkers might label them as lazy, but what they don't see is the overwhelming exhaustion and hopelessness that depression brings. It's not about procrastination or lack of discipline. It's about a mental illness that's hijacking their ability to cope. This dysfunction can spill into every area of life, from relationships to personal hygiene, leaving the person feeling trapped in a cycle of guilt and shame. If this resonates with you, it's time to take a step back and assess what's really going on. Depression doesn't just affect your mood, it impacts your ability to live your life. And while it might feel like there's no way out, there are tools and strategies that can help. Therapy, self-care, and even small productivity hacks can make a difference over time. Laziness often has a clear cause. Maybe you're procrastinating because you're overwhelmed by a big task, or you're feeling unmotivated because you didn't sleep well. Depression, however, doesn't play by those rules. It can hit you out of nowhere, without any obvious trigger. One day, you're going about your life, and the next, you're drowning in sadness, hopelessness, and exhaustion, with no idea why. This unpredictability is one of the reasons depression is so misunderstood. People might tell you to just snap out of it, but how can you fix something when you don't even know what's broken? Psychologists are still trying to fully understand what causes depression. It's often linked to a mix of genetic, biological, and environmental factors, but there's no single explanation. Unlike laziness, which might stem from a lack of discipline or motivation, depression can strike even when everything in your life seems fine. For instance, you could have a stable job, loving relationships, and good physical health, yet still feel an overwhelming sense of emptiness. This is why depression isn't just a mood. It's a mental illness that requires professional help and understanding. If you've been blaming yourself for feeling this way, it's time to let go of that guilt. Depression isn't your fault, and it's not something you can control. Instead of looking for a specific reason behind your struggles, focus on finding ways to manage them. Therapy, self-care routines, and even small steps like talking to a trusted friend can help. Here's the harsh truth. Depression isn't something you choose, and it's definitely not something you can just snap out of. Laziness, on the other hand, is often a conscious decision. You might choose to put off cleaning your room or delay starting a project because you're not in the mood. Depression doesn't give you that choice. It's like being trapped in quicksand. The harder you try to pull yourself out, the deeper you sink. And what makes it worse? The guilt and shame that come with feeling like you're failing at life, even though you're fighting a battle no one else can see. This is where the distinction becomes crucial. Laziness doesn't typically come with feelings of guilt, helplessness, or shame. Depression, however, thrives on these emotions. You might find yourself thinking, why can't I just get it together? Or what's wrong with me? But here's the thing, nothing is wrong with you. Depression is a mental illness, not a character flaw. It's not about being weak or seeking attention. It's about your brain struggling to regulate emotions, energy, and motivation. And no amount of willpower can fix that. If this sounds familiar, it's time to stop being so hard on yourself. Depression isn't a reflection of who you are. It's a condition that requires care and attention. Seeking therapy or professional help isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Remember, you wouldn't blame yourself for catching the flu, so why blame yourself for struggling with your mental health? And speaking of taking action, let's wrap this up by exploring how to move forward and seek the support you deserve. Now that you've learned about the 6 hidden signs of depression, it's time to reflect. Do any of these resonate with you or someone you care about? If so, don't brush it off as laziness or a passing phase. Depression is a serious condition, but the good news is that help is out there. Therapy, self-care, and professional support can make all the difference. So, what's stopping you from taking that first step? Imagine how much lighter life could feel if you didn't have to carry this weight alone. Here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to think about one small action you can take today. Maybe it's reaching out to a trusted friend, scheduling a therapy session, or even just acknowledging that what you're feeling is valid. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight, but every step forward counts. And if you know someone who might be struggling, share this video with them. It could be the lifeline they need. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. This way, you'll never miss out on more insights and tools to improve your mental and emotional health. Together, we can break the stigma around mental illness and create a space where healing is possible. So, what will you do today to take control of your emotional health? Let's keep this journey going. See you in the next video.